Varied reactions have continued to trail the report released by the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC, saying President Bola Tinubu didn't forge his Chicago State University certificate as alleged by his political opponent, Atiku Abubakar. Well, the authors of the report, titled Bola Tinubu Diploma, No Evidence Nigeria's President forged the certificate, made the conclusion after they contacted the CSU with questions about these diplomas, and details of the report published on the BBC's website stated that in response to the questions, the CSU says the institution is confident in the veracity and integrity of records regarding President Tinubu's attendance and completion of graduation requirements. Also, part of the responses by the CSU stated that the reason it couldn't find the diploma issued to Mr. Tinubu in 1979 was because they do not keep copies of diplomas already collected by students. And further, in their response, the university says it produced for President Tinubu a replacement diploma dated June the 27th, 1979, and also released diplomas awarded to other students that bore similar font, seal, signatures, and wordings as that of Bola Tinubu's. And that is what we're discussing now. In the studio with us is lawyer and public affairs analyst Jide Ologun. It's good to have you join us again on the program. So what do you make of this back and forth, and how much of a breakthrough does the Bola Tinubu legal team have with this proceedings or happenings overseas?
Thank you very much. Let me lay a foundation that we are not preempting what the Supreme Court will do. So my comments are purely based on personal opinion. And I think that matter has really enriched democracy, because Alhaji Atiku has exercised his mandate to pursue some things that he considered relevant to him. And it is also a matter of fact that the Chicago State University confirmed that the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces actually graduated from the school. And the issue now are issues of forgery or whatever. And let me say this, that is why we have the judicial system. America has done what they could have done to assist Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and now is for Nigeria. And he has approached the Supreme Court, which, generally speaking, is not a court of evidence, to say, now I have a fresh evidence I want to bring in, and it is at the discretion of the Supreme Court to decide whether to entertain it or not. And in law, if you look at Section 131 of the Evidence Act, it says that he who comes to the court, establishing some facts, has the burden of proof. So, but I believe that Alhaji Atiku has a vibrant team of legal practitioners. So is the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. So let's see if this fresh evidence will even be admissible to the Supreme Court, because the mandate of the Supreme Court at this point in time is to evaluate the decisions of the Presidential Election Tribunal at the appellate level and find out if the tribunal erred in law, and the tribunal read out the decisions of the tribunal for about 13 hours, stating critical issues for those who could go along. And some of us monitored keenly. And that brings me to another point, which is critical. The law is not about sensation. The law is not pedestrian. The law is not driven by media engagement. The law is about facts, issues, your evidence, and how you can marshal your case. And let me also bring in some precedents. I recall that in April 2019, Ademola Adeleke, the governor of Osun State now, was taken to the High Court based on his certificate that he could not contest. And the High Court upheld that. And he went to the Court of Appeal, and in May 2019, he was declared to be eligible to contest the election. He is the governor of Osun State as we speak. And that is when you talk about the laws of the land. So there are things we call allegations. But under the law, you are expected to prove these allegations beyond all reasonable doubt. You see, and again, let's talk about politics. I recall that must be like in 2019, thereabout, the Attorney General of the Federation came out to say that Atiku is not Nigerian by birth. You know, so if some ran with that, he probably would not have been able to. But the matter went to court. Several allegations, even the former president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, had issues with these credentials. So let me now move us to our ground norm, the chief law we have in the land. If you look at Section 131 of the Nigerian Constitution of 1999 as amended, it says that a candidate shall be qualified to contest for the office of president if he is a citizen by birth, citizen of Nigeria by birth, if he is 35 years of age, under this not too young to run, if he is a member of a political party, he has been sponsored by that political party, and he has been educated to the level of school certificate or its equivalent. So I think we have a systemic issue we must work at. And let me say this to those whose perception is that, oh, we are embarrassing the nation. Yes, globally speaking, we need to refine our system. I am embarrassed, for instance, if we have an operational system that did not identify the citizenship of Atiku, and you are now coming back later because he wants to contest to say he is not a citizen of that. I'm disturbed with that system. That's what we call background check in human resources management. You know, all these things must be there. You must be able. We have nothing less than 40 law enforcement agencies in Nigeria, screening and everything. So we need to fine-tune all this so that we don't find ourselves jumping around for political reasons. You know, and we now find almost all the stakeholders embarrassing the nation. And I personally do not run with sensation. Towards the last election we had, we started reading Obi's company was shut down in the UK for some financial infractions. He was held down at the airport. You know, in fact, somebody wrote, how can someone who is the biggest importer be claiming he wants to develop industrialization in different kinds of things? So my position is that we have a judicial system. And if these matters have been referred to the Supreme Court at this point in time, which became the highest court in the land since 1963 when we became a republic, I want to wait and see how the Supreme Court will interpret this. But some basic facts have been established that the president attended Chicago State University. He graduated from there. Because my mind started running wild that, okay, how did this man work with mobile? How did he work here? And so let's even, let's assume, and the wise man says that assumption is the lowest level of knowledge. Let's assume that he doesn't have certificate. Then how did he become governor of Lagos State? How did he go to the House of Senate? So we need to engage.
Because even the issue of stolen identity, that, somebody bearing, a female bearing Bola Tinubu, it also begs the question of how he could have even evaded the needed checks at the university, the Chicago State University in question. These and so many other allegations that, have arisen so far.
I think I mentioned that partly. Now, what started trending is that Alhaji Atiku sat for his school certificate examination with the name, is this Siddiq or something? So you just find these things going around. So I don't want political considerations to take control of critical issues. I am on the side of the law. If anyone has erred in law, let the consequences be borne. That is what you call the rule of law. But then, when allegations are made, please establish the allegations.
Right.
If not, somebody can walk up to me in the future and say, I do not know the color of the gate of St. Patrick's College that I attended.
All right, Mr. Ologun, let's put you on hold. We will continue our conversation after this break.
Possible. And when you talk about forgery, there are two types of forgery. To forge a non-existent document or to alter an existing document in a fraudulent manner. But fraud is an allegation. And what the law says is that you prove this matter beyond all reasonable doubt. So talking about the drive of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, yes, legitimately, he has a case. And he cannot adjudicate over that case in his sitting room. He can only go to the court. The court will look at it. His lawyers will argue if they have the opportunity, and the court will decide. So what is making it sensational now is that we are talking of high-profile personalities here, and that is why it's flying online everywhere. And of course, in public relations, you talk about perception. Your perception is fed by your bias. So you find people just flying. But as a professional, I don't do that. I want to look at, okay, what will the court? I have said it. If it is about sensationalism, media involvement and things like that, maybe today President Tinubu will not be the president of Nigeria. Maybe we have a media president or an online president or something. But they all went to the tribunal. And I argued, we have the laws in the land. If you look at Section 65 of the Electoral Act 2020 as amended, it stipulates how the elections will be concluded. If you are not satisfied, INEC has 7 days to review. Beyond this, you can go to a court of competent jurisdiction or the tribunal. So those gates have been kept open. And until we come up with laws that, okay, we will no longer allow the judiciary to intervene in our electioneering processes. So if the one who can shout most about allegations becomes president, then we know that we have changed what is on ground.
But then in a situation where all of these have been laid before the court, and they went ahead to talk about it, and also, just like you said, adjudicate on their own matter. Is it not sub judice for them to be doing so?
That is at the discretion of the court. I'm not the one to come out now and say they have run foul or contempt of court. No, I cannot hold brief for the honorable justices of the Supreme Court. And this is not the first time we are having arguments about judiciary and court. Remember during the Naira swap and the transformation of the Naira, whether the Supreme Court is the court of jurisdiction, if you want to sue CBN, you go to the Federal High Court, different kinds of arguments. And as a lawyer, I was not trained to go pedestrian on issues of laws. You weigh the law, evaluate the law with the law. And that's why I'm happy that all these stakeholders we are discussing have brilliant lawyers. I mean, the Presidential Election Tribunal recorded about 89 senior advocates of Nigeria and other lawyers. So if you put their practice experience together, it's more than 100 years. So let's go. This is another test of democracy. So let's see whether the Supreme Court will now say, okay, the evidence you could have brought, you are bringing it now, we'll still entertain it. Then we are then adding color to the jurisprudence of the land. But the wise man said that it is better to measure 10 times and cut once than to measure once and court 10 times. You see, so, and that is the principle of proactivity. And we were taught in the law school that you keep your gunpowder dry. So, and this is to say, if you are going on the battle, bring your arsenals, bring, harness, evaluate, do your SWOT analysis and everything before you roll out there.
Right, but paint us a picture of what to expect, at the Supreme Court. Now that the Atiku team has confirmed that they will be tabling this before the Apex Court, of course, the issue, it cannot be documentary evidence. The court will naturally want to entertain, if it does agree, will naturally want to entertain witnesses on either side, on all the sides, that is. But how likely is that, seeing as, this electoral petition window, this electoral dispute window is time-bound?
It's subject to the discretion of our lordships. There are 5 justices that will preside over this. So you don't expect that they don't know what they are doing. And let me bring the case of Kaduna State. When the tribunal concluded, it was as if the governor of Kaduna State has been thrown away. No. The court said, you petitioners did not come in the right way. What we could have done was to throw you out. But because of the concept of giving an opportunity for justice, let's hear you. We have considered it. If you have come through the right manner, this is what could have happened. And the next thing, people, so I will not fly on the wings of sensationalism. So I expect that the Supreme Court will look at the merits of all this before them and take a decision. I cannot say what that decision will be, definitely. But our laws are dynamic. And that is why I'm happy that we are testing our democracy, because democracy is getting more interesting now, in the sense that we are now beginning to have the third force and things like that. You would have noticed that even when Alhaji Atiku Abubakar spoke to other parties that come and join me to claim, they said, no, you are your own, manage your own. Even a faction of Labour Party now is coming out to question the certificate of identity. So these are issues that you find, particularly when it comes to politics. But I will not, I want to be well informed about the appropriate information that are credible, so that I have to wait for the Supreme Court. I monitored the process in the US, and the US judiciary did well. So we are back to Nigeria now. So how we are going to domesticate it, how it will be proved, what are the facts that are relevant. One of the key things I learned in the law school is that not all issues should engage your time. You go for issues that are critical, that will help you in winning your case. So I don't want to be thrown around with different kinds of comments and things like that. And I think I've tried to maintain that balance effectively.
All right. Gentlemen, we've run out of time, but we must thank you, lawyer and public affairs analyst Jide Ologun, for speaking with us on TVC Breakfast. We'll wait to see how things will pan out at the Supreme Court, but we thank you very much.
Thank you so much. God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria. Amen.